my friend, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and welcome to the Sunday after Thanksgiving 2023. It is, I don't know, it's in the low 30s out there, and we have snow. We have our first snow in Iowa of the year, which kind of came as a surprise because we usually don't get snow. Usually Kansas City gets hit by snow before we do. And as far as I know, we beat them. So we got about 2, maybe 3 inches of snow out there. It's already trying to melt, so it's just means it's going to be a sloppy day tomorrow work-wise, but you know, it is what it is. I got little Missy sitting over here behaving herself, and she's coming out of the art room more and more, which is good. The wife still gets extremely worried about her and the other cats getting into pissing matches, but she's behaving herself, and you know, she's coming along. I'm rooting for hopefully in another month or two we just leave the door open, she can come and go with the rest of them. You know, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of trying to save these cats in the first place. Anyway, we're looking at the historical Reunification War by Catalyst. This is one of them game supplement books that I would have loved the crap out of it when it first came out. I was always a big fan of the history and the lore of Battletech, as you well know. If you follow my channel long enough, you will have heard me globber on about it on a regular basis. That said, we do so very little about anything up to the beginning of the Fourth Succession War. So we came into the game at the very end. The Third Succession War, for all intents and purposes, is over with. And there's this law and this rebuilding period. I'm not saying that it was quiet. There was a lot of contention, a lot of bullshit. We're talking Battletech. There's always something going on. So, and then it gets ratcheted up. And we keep getting references. It's like the Kerensky and the Star League forces that when they left, blah, blah, and this was all pre-clan, so nobody had any idea what the hell the clans were or what they were coming from, but we all knew and agreed that the SLDF descendants were out there someplace, and sooner or later there would be a reason for a reunification of a different sort. In this case, we actually have the battle for the Periphery nations, and so in 2570, the 6th Great House of the Industry United formed the Star League, blah blah blah, and then almost immediately before the signatures are even finished, they launch a war against the Periphery, because by God, you're going to become. It wasn't quite that quick, but the potential idea is the same. We're going to join together. Now you're going to belong. You know, you're going to join the one galactic government, or you're going to die. Right. So we get a Reunification War, the battlefields, dress to kill. There's a lot of information in here that's been, over the decades, we have seen bits and pieces of stories come out of various eras and epochs of Battletech, and they increasingly grew bigger and broader because we kept getting more people, including the writers and the designers of the games themselves, who wanted to know more. And it wasn't too far down the road that you could start noticing that, gee, I could fight Amorous' troops. I could have fought with Kerensky and the retaking of Terra. I could have this, I could have that, because all the mechs and stuff available for the majority of Battletech came from those eras. So you could easily sit there and say most of the mechs and you know that we were already playing with would have been available. So it wouldn't have been that awful of a modification. It's just the scenery changes, the era, the time changes, but the mechanics all remain the same. So in the same scenario, we see all these stories and stuff. So it was inevitable that we would eventually see somebody make an effort to bring all the different pieces together and then fill in the missing pieces, and we get a much more broader deal. Now, unfortunately for me, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Swin had already made some pretty damn good videos covering this entire era of Battletech, and you can listen to it live with animation going on it on his channel, and I would highly recommend it. If you've never seen any of his crap, you are missing out on some good stuff. So just trying to read through the book, I found myself nodding off in some spots because it was all information it's not new to me. It's just better presented in a better form. I guess that's what I'm going at. And once again, the only thing that I have any real gripe about this, not this particularly this book, but because of the lack of foresight to date, and I suspect someday maybe they'll get enough. They'll have enough space on the fire for an extra iron, and we can put in a book on a source book for the Rimworld's Republic sans their destruction, because I think that's one of the biggest, probably the biggest missing possible game MacGuffin that's still available. I'd always said that had it not been the clan invasion, I really honestly expected it to be some kind of, I don't know, amorous revenge, family revenge invasion or something that would then be countered by the descendants of the SLDF racing to the rescue. The other possible scenario was that the SLDF migrated and escaped to the other side of the galaxy and then ended up basically devolving into what, you know, we know a lot of their history turned into anyway, sans the clan part. But, you know, what it is, what it is. So we get a lot of good material in here, a lot of background stuff, a lot of unit recognitions, character bios for personalities, things like this. Mostly we get some step-by-steps of combat and important key locations, things like this, and results. You know, I mean, it wasn't until we get to the very ass end of the book that I start getting into things that I really, you know, had not seen before, and or don't remember seeing. But and of course the appendix sections are always great, because we have some additional equipment. And I always enjoy seeing these things, especially when the ones that come up are so kind of universally missing in the first damn place, as far as I'm concerned, right? So, rules annex, weapons of mass destruction. This whole section in here on using things like nukes and biochemical warfare and things like that, which was horrifically a product of the first and second succession war on a massive scale, and then once again in the jihad on a massive scale. So having the mechanics for them makes sense to have them. You know, makes sense to have them. We're back to that a little analogy I did in a different video when I talk about scale and kind of understanding the differences between why most game systems actually scale up and down combat. So when you have an individual armed with a pistol and he's charging a light warship on the other side of the tarmac, this individual with a pistol has absolutely no chance in hell of doing anything to that ship. He's not going to damage that pistol's not going to damage that ship in any significant way. It's not going to allow him to force an entry. And the truth is, the ship grade weapons on that ship are designed to kill other ships or to fight off starfighters. So those starfighter weapons are going to be powerful when they're on a human scale. So once you turn that gun mount ballista towards the dumbass charging your ship with a pistol, that other guy's just became a vapor on the tarmac or a greasy spot. And it's the way it is. I mean, right? And so having used mass destruction tools, that's only good if you're playing from a strategic game level. If you're playing on I'm the House Lord, and we're looking at a massive chess game of mass unit combat on a tiny scale, then yeah, right. But for the most part, it's just kind of one of those oh shit kind of scenarios. Over in the distance, you watch oh shit, and now the rest of the campaign is trying to get the hell back away from the nuclear hellhole that just opened up next to you. Biological and chemical weapons. Lots of options and class types. Irregular troops, militias. This is stuff I'm really a big fan of, and I had to go and make an entire chapter in my own book, my own game system, to cover things like this because it's so pertinent in game building. All right, so we got the Hippic cavalry tank, and we have the Dragonfly, a 40-ton aerospace fighter, the 50-ton Talos, the 55-ton Alphar. Now, I don't know, I'm making assumptions that since this is a legitimate Catalyst book, that these are now considered canon machines. So the Tiger medium tank, I saw that and I thought, wow. Wasn't, after all the controversy between the Rommel and Patton tank combo BS, I thought, geez, well, that's pretty risque of them to be using that term Tiger, gosh darn it. Anyway, Gallant Urban Assault Mech, or tank. The Wayland Mobile Base. These are the items. This is the stuff I really get a kick out of, because I so from a logistics, supply, and mechanics, repair understanding how this game functions on a grander scale. These things are just critical, and the fact that they've always been there, they've always been hinted at in the background, just ignored or not explored, kind of always bothered me a little bit. This when we see more and more of these things creeping in, and only see one every couple, $3, okay. But the fact is, that's one more than we just seen 20 years ago. I mean, I'm just pointing that out. Let's see, the light bulk transport, right? Jumbo class dropship, the Concordat frigate, the new Citrus carrier. Yeah, and then we get some big boys in here. The Dreadnought class warship. Alright, so that is the Reunification War, and I highly recommend it. If you can get your hands on it, you really want to know more of the lore of that era when the newly born Star League tries to conquer the universe. Yeah, this is a great book, and I recommend it to anybody. If you ain't got it, I would get it. Till next time, I'm Rick. You're not. Missy's over here in the corner.